Hello, it's Scott Manley here. Today I want to share with you Reentry, a spaceflight simulator. This game has just reached 1.0. It's actually slightly past 1.0 because they inevitably find bugs and they get fixed. This is something I've been tracking for like 10 years or so. It is a beautiful, detailed love letter to all the amazing space capsules of the 1960s. If you look in the menus right away, we have Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and the lunar module. And you can go into all of these things and click around the cockpits. And I'm going to do that in a bit. But I want to show some other things you can do. First of all, we have the Academy where you're actually learning the stuff. And there's a lot of supporting material so you can learn how to fly these spacecraft realistically. You've got missions where you can do certain sections of missions, complete, like the Mercury Redstone, for example, which I did earlier this year to show just what Old Shepard did versus what New Shepard does. You have campaigns where you can actually fly multiple parts, career load states, and by the way, there's a roadmap because this thing is still developing, right? This was an early access from 2015 to 2025, and I think the first video that I really made on the channel about it was in 2019, and frankly, I was disappointed with the performance of the video. People were still wanting more Kerbal Space Program, but I loved it nevertheless. And the thing is, it turns out that even although the video didn't perform as well as I hoped at the time, it was exactly the right thing to do because it just seemed to spark off enough interest in the game that the developer continued. I'm glad that that ended up happening. I heard that the developer actually said that he was kind of thinking about giving up on the project, but I can't really claim much credit there, but I'm very happy to have been involved in some tiny way for this massive magnum opus work. Another thing they're working on is like mission control, so you can go to Apollo Mission Control Center and there will be a multiplayer mode that they are working on. So I'm just going to close this window right now because I don't think anyone's playing, but we can totally walk around into mission control with the screens, like these big projectors that use like Idafor projectors. You've obviously got the guys in the back room, right? Check the guys in the back room. The guys that are doing like the real detailed number crunching and stuff. Those guys can work. I wonder how many mission control positions it will need. Console discrepancy log. Okay. We've got these screens. You know how these screens were generated was that there would actually be mainframes, big ass computers in the back room. And they would display these things on these screens, and then they would actually have a camera that pointed at that screen with different overlays that would come down. So some of these screens like this, right, they could only display very limited graphics. So some of the stuff was actually like an overlay that would be placed in front of it. Very interesting that they would do that kind of thing. Anyway, let's go back to the main menu. And let's actually just fly something, right? We may not fly the entire thing because it's going to take a while. Let's go to the lunar module. I've not flown the lunar module in a thing. In fact, let's just do... Let's try the descent. Let's do this. Lunar module descent. How hard could it be? Very. Actually, a lot of the things here, they're pretty easy because you're literally just clicking through buttons and following the procedures and lessons. It's holding your hand because you would have like a guy in mission control telling you which buttons to flick. The problem with the landing, of course, is it is a high consequence for failure scenario. If you if you end up descending a bit too fast, you could be stuck on the moon forever. Yes, you could be actually stuck on the moon forever, but you won't want the experience forever. So look, we load into this absolutely beautiful recreation of the command module. And you'll notice there's nobody in the lunar module pilot seat. So you're clearly playing the commander. But of course, you are actually supposed to be in the lunar module. And if I go to external view... Oh, external view is dark. Let's switch to the lunar module. So now we can see this. Can we go to external view here? V brings this up. External. And it's also dark. We can take a look at the orbit situation. So this is both spacecraft orbiting around the moon. We're getting ready for landing. Let's switch to the left-hand station. Welcome! So now down the bottom we have this. Hello and welcome to the lunar descent and landing lesson. Roger. This lesson you will learn major steps needed to perform a powered descent and then the lunar landing itself. The descent consists of 4 phases. First is preparation needed for the burn. Then there is the descent itself, called the powered descent. Once the majority of the velocity is reduced, you enter the approach phase. That's down to about 2,000 feet. And then finally you have the landing phase, where Neil Armstrong has to take over and put it down on a flat bit of land. It's a long lesson, and I am going to cut this, but don't worry. Well, you're going to get to see the important bits. So the first thing you'll need to do is read the briefing page. So you press M and you have this mission pad, and it gives you, like, the briefing, right? It tells you all the stuff you need to know here. Powered descent, phase 2 approach, tells you what you need to be doing and when. But the mission pad also has things like the map of the Earth. It also has a star chart as well with the various stars that you might be using for aligning the guidance system. You have checklists, and there's a lot of checklists. Now we have command module checklists, which are huge. We have the lunar module checklists, which are also huge. We have a timeline as well with various checklists sorted by timeline. And if you click ahead on this bottom screen and you miss something, you can always look at the transcript and it'll tell you, you know, what you perhaps missed. Very useful to know. And you can just, like, add your own notes here. Say, like, if you're writing down numbers that you've got from the, from the mission control, because some of the stuff involves contacting mission control to get numbers. So we're currently in orbit around the moon in an undocked configuration. We're ready and checked out for landing. First thing we need to do, especially if you have the simplified, is to ensure our ordeal is set to inertial. Okay, so this one here, we're going to make sure that is set to inertial. That's orbiting. No, it's set to inertial. We need to request the time of powered descent. So in communication, request PDI, powered descent initiate. And so mission control is now communicating. Capsule 1, PDI set to 83 hours, 52 minutes, and 15 seconds with attitude 01100. Time of ignition values are uploaded to the LGC, which is the lunar version of the Apollo guidance computer. Verify with Victor 06 November 33 Echo. Right, so that's verb 06 noun 33 enter. Please attend your landing site location. So, PDI pad 8352. These are the numbers that you will expect to see in this, right? So open the lunar map. We've got this map here. And again, we can take a look at the lunar map and we can see where we are, which is over here. Zoom in. So there's us moving across the surface of the moon. And if we move sideways, we will find where we are going to initiate our burns to start the deorbit. And somewhere downrange will be where the landing actually happens. And yeah, that'll probably depend on how we set things up. Roger! So it's telling us all this. So we're going to set the attitude controls on the LGC. So we're going to do Victor, verb 49, enter. And we should turn the brightness up here. Oh, now remember what I said, every switch in this works. So, you know, all these switches do stuff. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them do important stuff in the back end of the simulation. This isn't a fully simulated guidance computer, by the way, but it's close enough for the simulation. So we have got noun 22 loaded, showing you the desired attitude. So it's 000 right now. Wait a second. Use verb 22 to change register to plus 11,000, right? So we do verb 22, enter, and now we have to type in the number plus 1100. So this is the attitude, right? Roger. Ensure the other two registers are 0, correct. Press Pro to copy into the N18, and proceed again to execute. End the routine by either pressing procedure or use Victor V43E to terminate it. Great. Okay, roll mode should be mode continuous. Mode continuous. We're switching the attitude control system to the guide autopilot, and finally set pings PNGS primary guidance and navigation system control mode to auto. Let's also configure DAP, digital autopilot. So we're going to put verb 48, enter. And then we'll do verb 21, enter. And what we're doing is we're setting the flags here to change register 1. And then we'll set register 1 to 22112 and then enter. So this is an octal number that's setting the configuration of the autopilot. Okay, we're proceeded. Great. Now, verb 06, noun 33, enter. Great, so we get some numbers and stuff. What we see now is time, right? Remember the descent time? 83 hours, 52 minutes, and 15 seconds, I guess? So we're not going to change this. Leave this as we wish. We can use the map view to see the point of ignition. Great. And we're going to check our ordeal FDAI is set correctly to inertial. Can optionally move the landing. So there is actually an orbital map as well. So it looks like this is the periapsis, and this is where we're targeting by the looks of things here, right? Back into this. The landing point, so this is the whole thing about the landing point designator, which uses these etchings in the window so you can figure out where the landing site is during the approach. So we're going to run our time forward now, about 25 minutes. So we're waiting for 52 minutes here, so we should just run time forwards to, it says about 25 minutes prior to ignition. So, what, like 27? There we go, we're about 25 minutes before ignition. Let's set up power descent using program 63. So, verb 37, which is launch program, enter. And then we're going to start program 63, which is the power descent, enter. So there is our countdown running towards power descent initiate. Program 63 is used to control the attitude and descent propulsion system thrust to guide the LM towards the lunar surface. So the first page is verb 6, noun 61, shows the time to go in braking phase, time from ignition. On this page you can enter noun, so I've got noun 61 out here, I can do noun 33. Right. And you can see the time to go or whatever in braking, right? So I'll go back to noun 61. And it brings me these numbers back. So ensure the event timer is stopped. So the event timer is up here, and I need to reset it. Now, where the event timer is up here, but the controls are down there, which makes it very complicated to set up. So it is stopped right now. Set the event timer to 54 minutes. So 1, 2. And then right click. And we're going to make sure it's counting up. Great, okay. So that will be counting up, I guess, towards 0. Timescale to go about T-minus 8 minutes to burn. We'll start the event timer when it's actually 6 minutes left to ignition. Okay, so we're going to, again, run this to about 8 minutes before. And if you do the math, that means 44 minutes. I hope I've done that math right. It would be really embarrassing if I couldn't do basic math while flying a spacecraft. Arithmetic, even. There we go. Okay, so we get 8 minutes on the clock here. So what we want to do is start this by making it go, clicking it up at exactly 6 minutes on this clock. So let's run this a little forwards faster. Thankfully, we have time acceleration available to us. Let's click the right switch here. Oh no, I stirred the tanks at exactly the wrong moment. This thing happens, right? So, oh, it's so tense. We're just trying to click this thing at exactly the right time so we will have a good timer for everything else. Okay, so now this is counting up and it will reach 0 when this reaches 0, and then we'll have time from power descent initiate. Okay. While we wait... Oh, while we wait, I should have been checking the FDAI? Really? Okay. I'm not sure it's showing a right error. We will correct this. And exactly... Oh, I did that. Okay. Now, during Program 63 and Program 64, the primary guidance and navigation system will control our attitude. With the event timer started, press key Pro to proceed with P63. You will see verb 50 now in 18, meaning that the spacecraft is requesting to maneuver to the burn location. Press Proceed again to accept this. So now this is going to rotate us to the attitude, which will be where the burn is going to happen. So we're pointed at the sky, by the way, but the spacecraft itself is actually obviously moving across the surface of the moon. You can see the Earth up there. They're rather nice to see this. We don't have that much time to admire the views, unfortunately, because we have to learn how to land the spacecraft. So, we've already pressed that proceed. Registers are now showing the desired attitude, right, which is again 11110 pitch. Verify roll attitude control mode is mode continuous. Do the same for yaw. Yep. Great. As you accept the maneuver, the dead band was automatically set to 1 degree. Okay. The digital autopilot will try to keep the desired attitude on all axes during the descent, but be prepared to take over if anything happens. When you're satisfied, verify rates are nulled. They look pretty null to me. Then press Pro on the disk key. Okay. So now we're counting down towards power descent initiate. Okay. So we're going to see verb 6, noun 62. The most important piece of data is in R2 register time, register 2, the time to ignition. Register 1 shows the absolute value of your velocity, and this shows the accumulated delta V, right? So I guess we're accumulating delta V very slowly, possibly due to errors in various systems, or possibly because we're getting thrust from somewhere, such as an unplanned urine dump. I mean, I would need to go at this time, right? With T-minus 2 minutes, set Master Arm. So Master Arm, we get 3 minutes, but I'm going to set it early. Master Arm here connects the batteries for the pyrotechnics system to the bus. So if there's any pyrotechnics you're going to activate, they need to be triggered from this system here. And there's going to be special ones needed to pressurize the tanks and stuff. The descent propulsion system uses leftover from the ambient helium tank pressurization. Okay, great. So I'm not sure what this needs to be set to. I'll set it to supercritical. Then pressurize the descent propulsion system for the duration of the descent. Okay, so this is pressurization of the system here, possibly. To let the helium flow into the engine, at least one of the DES helium regulators needs to be opened. Push the DES helium regulator up to ensure it is open. Okay, we got that one open. The talkback indicator should be grey. It shouldn't be like a flag. We have 2 minutes to go here. At T-minus 35 seconds, the disk key will blank for 5 seconds. Okay, so we're waiting for that. So we can time accelerate a little just for that. While looking out over the surface of the moon. No, actually no, we're looking inside the spacecraft because we are in a state of sheer panic with what we are about to do here. The great thing about this is you can learn about all of these spacecraft systems. Things that, you needed to be an astronaut to learn. And there's a lot to do here, right? Difference is you don't have to learn to poop in a bag, which is obviously something that you don't want to have to do. At T-minus 30 seconds, set the engine arm switch to there's the thing, to DES, that's armed. Yep, it's down already. Also print propellant quantity MON to DES1. Okay, we're doing that. So you can monitor. At T-minus 5 seconds, V99 will show, asking your permission to ignite the engine, and you have to hit proceed. So we're waiting for V99 to show when this reaches 5 seconds. There we go, verb 99, proceed. That's us. So the engine's about to start up. There we go. You can hear it, I can feel it. We can see the engine starting. Now it starts in a low thrust mode to give you time to make sure that everything's doing fine. You can still cancel at this point and reset. But at a certain point, we're going to go up to full thrust. And thrust to weight ratio will suddenly kick all the way up in about 26 seconds, I believe. There we go. So there we go. Verb 6, noun 63. So everything's being measured. Time is running up. The event timer is now counting up because we set it up earlier, so that's how long we've been doing this descent. At 26 seconds after ignition, the lunar guidance commands the engine to full thrust. We've already gone through that. Set the mode select switch on panel 1 to pings. Okay, so we should actually have this down into primary guidance and navigation system. Open the mission pad and the powered descent. Checklist. This would have been a good time to have this checklist prepared. Lunar module. Lunar descent. Braking phase. Okay, this is our checklist here. We can actually pop this up on the screen. But there's a cue... We don't need this. Never mind, I'm going to clear this. But down the bottom, there's a cue card that tells us the numbers that we expect based on this. So we're like 130, we should see that these numbers are roughly consistent with these numbers. I could be wrong here, but I see numbers going up, I see numbers going down, so I'm happy with this. And so at this point, it is a fairly long descent towards the lunar surface. It takes like 8+ minutes to go through the deceleration before you transition to the approach, and then the approach can be pretty chaotic as well. Oh, we've got to switch the descent engine command override to on. Make sure it's on. There we go. Set the master arm on the explosive devices to off, so we don't need to fire any more explosive devices right now. And I can monitor the altitude here. So that's great. Verify the landing antenna switch is set to auto or descent. That's fine. When the altitude reaches about 40,000 feet, which we are definitely past, the warning lights, the Vel warning lights down here should have extinguished. I didn't even notice they were on. This means the landing radar has locked on to this surface. Okay. So now we're just waiting on this. This could take some time. Our altitude is about 10,000 feet. Descent rate is about 35 feet per second. I'm sorry, those are the numbers that they used, even though the Apollo guidance computer actually used metric internally. But yeah, we are literally just waiting for this guidance computer to switch its numbers over to... Oh, is it flashing? No. No, I was hoping that we would get approach mode. So program 64, that's what we're waiting on. We get some red lights here. I hope that's nothing important. So this is obviously just the training mode. In the training mode, you have all these prompts at the bottom of the screen. You can fly without any of that stuff. You can fly it using just the checklists, and you can go beyond the basic capabilities of what's coded into it. So you could recreate a bunch of things that aren't there. If you look very carefully as well, you can actually see the reticule that would be used for docking. That's kind of neat. Very nice. I hadn't noticed that. If you put the camera in exactly the right place, it renders that. That's a very nice touch from the developers there. Still in program 63 at this point, 25% fuel. So I guess approach mode comes when we're about down to 20% fuel. Let's see if that prediction holds true here. Oh, there we are. We're in mode 64 now. Program 64. So this is it now telling us... Well, it tells us a lot of things, but the way we're supposed to do this is it pitches forward and it lets us see where our landing site is. It'll tell us, like, which angle I should look down this to figure out where the landing site is. That is kind of hard to do, to be honest. 27? It's about there, maybe? 21? 20? Numbers are going fast. 16? This is pitching a lot. 13? So I guess our landing site is about there somewhere. I may be misreading that computer. I just know what that thing is doing, and I do know that that number is sort of seems to be oscillating with the attitude of the spacecraft, so it seems sort of reasonable. We also have our descent rate and everything as well for landing. So you see how we're coming down 40, 50 feet per second? And we're still stuck in mode 64. This is where you hit the abort button. Oh, no, okay, now finally it's transitioning with 2% fuel. Okay, great. Let's get down fast. We're in mode 66, but we've got 0 fuel here. Let's hit the abort. Okay. Nope, nope, nope. Contact lights! Yeah. That didn't quite work as I had hoped. Okay, executed mode 66, and let's try to adjust the rate of descent. I don't know if there's keyboard controls that adjust the rate of descent thing, but that is the switch. The computer is controlling the rate of descent, and I'm just trying to use the WASD keys to try to minimize my lateral speed. Let's. Oh, I think I pushed it the wrong way, but we've got to the surface. Contact light, and we didn't fall over. Excellent. Funny how my wetware seems to be better than a lot of companies' software. So, oh yeah, now I see that the guide here is actually explaining. Okay, so actually the guide was telling me how to land the spacecraft as I was landing the spacecraft, but I wasn't landing the spacecraft, so yeah, whatever. I didn't, like, it's telling me that you need to flick this switch to control the rate of descent. It's a good thing I knew that. Notice the rate of descent has changed. No, my rate of descent is 0 because I'm on the moon. Okay, I guess another thing they added that I've not seen before is that you can now go on EVA. You just have to follow, like, the EVA checklist, which involves working with these controls, which are behind the lunar module pilot. So I gotta switch over, like, the life support stuff to use the portable life support systems, which actually technically isn't required, but they're making sure that you go through that, I guess. There are, you know, contingencies that would require them to perform EVAs without the portable life support systems and without umbilicals. Yeah, they're... Again, I have videos about this. Bunch of buttons to push. Again, you want it to be green, and if it doesn't change button color when you click on it, then try right-clicking it. Okay, this open. This is basically configuring all the circuit breakers to make sure that everything looks good. And we have stuff over here on panel 11. By the way, the panels are all numbered. If you look, there's numbers in various locations, and the checklist will tell you which panel it's on. So that can, you know, obviously help save you a lot of time. Obviously, the real Apollo astronauts didn't have like a little green bug showing you where they should be looking. Okay, looks like the cabin has depressurized, and now we need to open the hatch. So we descend down here, and we toggle the hatch open, and we don't blast out into space because we depressurize. And now, I'm descending down the ladder onto the lunar surface. It's dark, because I've got my visor on. There. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the lunar module pads are depressed about 4 inches into the soil. It's powdery. Holy crap, I can't believe I'm walking on the surface of the moon! This is insane! I feel like I am tripping. Neil, it sounds like you may have a hot mic there. Yeah, I am sure that walking on the moon was a pretty mind-blowing experience. The culmination of the work of hundreds of thousands of technical people all across the country. This is pretty amazing. I'm not sure it's the same level of mind-blowing, but it is the work of practically, you know, one person and a lot of people helping him out. If you are interested in a flight simulator for spaceships, this is the place to be right now. It is absolutely fabulous. Put it on your shopping list. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.